Happy Saturday. I'm just going to get started. Saturday is the day ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is the planet of structures and how we do things. And Saturn is really getting shaken up this year, especially because we are meant to restructure and create the new rules and to eliminate hierarchy and to eliminate all the corruption and to get back into our highest integrity and heart-centeredness, because truly our goal in the human experience is to return to unity consciousness. So Saturn is helping us do that. The power of Saturn is helping us do that. And so Saturday is a day ruled by Saturn. And so normally my Saturdays are all about organizing my home. That's when I do my laundry. That's when I balance my checkbook. And this is when I do things to say, okay, this is very structured. This is what Sherry is doing. The P's and Q's, the getting the ducks in a line. This is what it's doing. And also affirming to myself, wow, this is how the universe supports me. This is how this is happening. And all of this is my gift for being obedient, for leaving my position in medicine and honoring my true path and purpose. And so Saturdays are always about affirming that for me and getting all of that in a row. So the Ascended Masters. And so today, I just want to say, like, Saturday, I slept in, right? And so I got to get up at my own pace and really, so that's part of my structure. My structure is I don't have to set alarm clocks. My structure is my body can rise when it feels right to rise. This is structure. Structure is not about the early bird gets the worm, or whatever the fuck those sayings are, like early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's not true. Like, these are things that are keeping people in a box. Like, there's no across the board rules for everyone, except to get in your heart and stay in integrity. Literally, that is the only rule of the human experience. And if you can do that and align yourself to your path and purpose, there is no harm. That's what ahimsa is. Ahimsa is not about, let me put you in a box and you have to have this specific diet and be vegan. No, the animal kingdom already had made the agreement that some of them would be sacrificed. The whole point is that when you enter the altar to nourish your body, there has to be a communion with self and also with the sacrifice that prepared that nourishment for your body. And they know that already. Just like some make the agreement to be victimized as children, like myself. These are agreements that are made before we're birthed. So you cannot hold judgment over someone else for making a decision to have a lesson that maybe you don't agree with. That's not okay, but it does have to be, you have to remain heart-centered and in your highest integrity. That's the only rule. So, I was gonna bring my lilies. So beautiful Mary Magdalene showed up in my spread today, and it's no coincidence that she showed up for me. I've been really connecting with this energy. Obviously, if you've seen my posts, then you know I've been connecting with this energy. But I normally buy myself flowers, and my favorite flowers are tulips, but I also love roses. So if the roses are fragrant, I will buy the roses. But there were no tulips and the roses were not fragrant, but I saw lilies, and I rarely buy lilies, but there were a bouquet of lilies, and I said, I'm going to buy myself some lilies. So I bought a bouquet of lilies for myself. And I realized on this morning when I pulled this card that she's got lilies. So I thought that was beautiful. So when I was reading the card and connecting with this card talks about awakening the teacher, which I am as a spiritual teacher, to follow my inner call and don't let anything stop me. Well, if you follow my posts, you know that that's not my way anyway. I usually don't allow myself to be stopped. But I asked Spirit in that moment when I pulled that card, okay, well, is there more direction that I should take in my teaching? Is there another tip that you can give me for my teaching to connect with others, or maybe to broaden my my reach? And right away, this deck is out of print. It's one of Doreen Virtue's, the Ascended Masters deck. Oh no, I think this one is the one that's still in print. This is the one that's not in print anymore. This one is, and I can actually get it for you because I keep all my decks right here. Oh, I lied. It's Kyle Gray. This is the light. Keepers of the Light, Kyle Gray. So isn't that beautiful? That's Kyle Gray, his Keepers of the Light deck. And so when I asked, I right away heard a poem that I like. Small Words is what I heard, and that's a poem that I wrote. And so I am a poet, and so Spirit wanted me to share this poem. And I think that the key is, every once in a while, because there's very specific people that I will follow, and I have unfollowed many spiritual teachers because it's unfortunate that a lot of them are like regurgitating things that they've read, and then they're repeating lessons. They're repeating, their lessons, what they're teaching people, just over and fucking over and fucking over, and they're not teaching anything new. And to me, that means that they are also stuck. And so if a teacher or a peer of mine, a spiritual peer of mine, is really not doing their own work, why would I invest my time and energy in listening to them, right? Because the whole point on sharing a path with someone and devoting any time and energy to listening to them is that they are also evolving. And I don't have time for that. I don't have time to add more sandbags to my hot air balloon. And so, what did you say? Beautiful card. What deck is this? Just purchased a Divine Feminine Oracle, Megan. Oh, I've never seen that deck. That's beautiful. And thank you for affirming what I just said. So I also noticed that the vocabulary is very specific to these false teachers. And so when I hear like even my clients repeat these words, I ask them, do you know what that means? Because here's the thing, even Einstein said, if you can't explain what you know to a child, then you really don't know what you think you know. And so to me, simplicity is so important. Like, to reach the masses, it's important to speak the language of the masses. And even though I may use vocabulary that you've never heard before, it's delivered in a way that you understand the meaning of it. So now you have acquired a new word. And it's the understanding that I have in my teaching that actually helps you understand what you're listening to, if that makes sense, I hope. Spirit's giving that to me. And so anyhow, Spirit gave me this poem. So I'm going to share the story of the poem, and this will explain it. So I have a friend, I'm from New York, for those of you who are new to following me, I'm from New York, and I moved out here when I was only 20 by myself. But this particular friend is a rapper, and he and I were talking, and he said, you know what? Any rapper that can't use a 3-syllable word in their music ain't worth shit. And I started laughing. I was like, that's arrogant. And he said, what? I said, yeah, because the point is to use a simple word that has the deepest meaning. Like, that shit rocks. I mean, like, look at MC Lyte, look at KRS-One. These are like very famous old school rappers that had immense depth to their rhymes, and you could feel it. That's the point. Like, what do you feel? So that would be my suggestion to anybody. If you follow someone on social media, feel into what they are saying. Feel into their teachings. Feel into their posts. And if it doesn't feel right, it's not resonating with you, and it's not going to initiate you to continue evolving. Because there are so many teachers that are regurgitating things that they read, and they themselves are not evolving. I mean, there's teachers that I had respect for that have a huge following, and now I'm thinking, like, they bought the followers, first of all, but they themselves are a damn sellout, because they're not really, what they're offering doesn't have much value to it. And maybe at one point, and hopefully people that happen upon it, I mean, you hear what you're meant to hear. So anyhow, he said this to me, and so I wrote this poem in response to what he had said, and it's called Small Words. So let me summon my inner poetess so I can share this poem with you. Let me turn down my music, because I don't think this is the right beat. Okay. Who taught you that your talent rides on multiple syllables, when we all speak in simple terms, even those more able? Try spinning simplicity with deeper meaning and relatability. Now that's an impressive ability. Even Shakespeare knew a rose by any other name would still reek. So light up an incense to get rid of that stench, son. Here's my point. A small word, like cunt, packing big word punch, makes grown men stutter and women shudder. Vagina don't contain that power. Here's another. Love. Like the kind that hurts, and everyone feels it the same. That's how cliches are made. I write and my soul bleeds. Read it aloud and you can taste the metal behind your teeth. I could say ferrum. I'm educated after all. But there goes half my audience. Bad call. So that is the poem that I wrote in response to my dear friend, rapper. And so that's what I hope comes across in my teaching, that sometimes words that I use, that Spirit gives me to use, because I do not think before I speak. Like, literally, there is no filter or edit or pause in my speech. I'm going. That even if it causes you to pause or gasp or, back up a minute, it's the feel of what I am delivering that I hope comes across. Just like in my poetry, whenever I write a poem, it's about the feels, and even my word selection is very specific because of the way that it travels through my body and across my tongue when it comes out. The resonance of very specific words is important to me when I'm writing my poetry. And so it's the same way with my teaching. So it was interesting. After I drew that and asked Spirit, and it showed me that poem. That's beautiful. Thank you for asking for a copy of that. I actually have it on SoundCloud. And if you want, actually, I'll post it. Fuck it. I'll post it. I will record it and type it out if you want, or I can specifically send it to you if you DM me. And so when Spirit gave me that poem, I kind of giggled to myself. I said, I wonder if I remember this poem. So I said it, and I was like, wow, I remembered it. And I drew this one from my other deck, and this is the Archangel deck. This is Doreen Virtue. And it's the Archangel Gabriel, but it's the creative writing. And it says, make time to write down your thoughts in a journal or pen an article or book. And I was like, ha! How's that for synchronicity? Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Archangel Gabriel. Thank you, Mary Magdalene. And so I kind of giggled for a minute and I said, okay, I promise to write a poem today. So I will write a brand new one today. He says, I would love to see the recording and I'll DM you. Thank you. I'm very honored, and that's beautiful compliment. Thank you. So I think I mentioned before, like my son talking about, that's kind of mind blowing how a card will show up more than 2 days in a row the way that you shuffle, because I mush my cards like this and then I shuffle them together and then I do fancy shuffling, you know, like beautiful shuffling. And I mean, it's not like Vegas status or nothing like that, but I shuffle my decks. And so there was a time, and I would be willing to bet it was 2018. I'm not sure. I know my son was still in high school then, and he's graduated in 2019. But this dude, Kadumi, showed up literally 2 weeks every single day in a row. And I was fed up, okay? So I took the card out of the deck. And my son said, I'll keep it safe for you, because this is the deck that's out of print. And this is Doreen Virtue's Ascended Masters deck. And he's like, I'll keep the card safe for you. Maybe it's meant for me. I need to stay focused. And so he took the card and put it on his desk. So I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. He's like, hey, Mom, you want this card back? You want to stick it back in the deck and see what's up? And I said, sure, because literally, I'm not kidding you. When I took this card out of this deck, he showed up in this deck and made me insane for a minute. But he was like, oh, okay, you'll take me out of this deck? I'll show you what, bitch. I'll show up in the other deck. And he did. So I was like, okay. So anyway, my son gave me back this card, and I kind of held my breath when I drew my card Friday, and he did not come up. So now Saturday, he's here. And my son is with his dad. So I actually texted, because he doesn't do social media, cell phones, nothing. I took a picture of the card, texted it to his dad, and I said, please show this to Junior so that he can see this damn card showed up. So I was like, okay, Kadumi, I'm going to be compassionate with you this time. I swear I will not remove you from the deck. I will do whatever work is undone. So my beautiful sister, Lisa, who is volumes of wisdom, especially when it comes to like these backstories, told me that there is a relationship between he and Lady Nada with energy, with what they work with. When I read in this deck, because I said, okay, I'm going to read the extended meaning. It's been literally years since you and I have met, because I removed you. And Saint Francis, it's believed that he is a reincarnation of Saint Francis. So if you remember, I believe it was yesterday, Saint Francis showed up. So it's interesting. So though that's my Ascended Master team for today. So already like powerful, because these are the first cards I draw. So I charge my ceremonial cacao on my altar while I pull my guides for the day. And then I take the first sip. And then I move into these decks. These decks are like general, what I'm moving through, but in my inner circle too. So a lot of times these cards could represent family structure for me. And so that's what these are. And so, or like inner circle, relationship, friendships, that's what these three cards, okay? So this is the hidden gift, sadness, an ending, a new beginning. And so this talks about don't ever see an ending as a loss, that every loss is actually just creating space for new. And I had recently cut off again a partner of mine, because of course he had to show back up because it's Chiron, and like, let me try my very best to re-traumatize you or make you feel like you are romanticizing wounds or whatever the fuck the reason why he showed up. But I wasn't having it. So this is the affirmation that the loss of him is not actually a loss, that I am creating space. So I'm happy about that. And so you and your loved ones are safe, which is good, because remember I was talking about feeling under attack. And so the affirmation that my family unit is safe is very important to me. And then the golden children. So I have shared a lot about my kids. Both of my kids are psychic. And my son, I had been pregnant with my son in past lives when I was killed. So I was killed with him in utero, but he had not been birthed. And I had always felt that he was a new soul, an old soul, but new to the human experience, I guess is the best way to put it. He had actually been my guide before in past lives, but not practiced at being human. And his purpose in this life solely is to help push me, because this is my last human inception, but he really needed me to be his mother. And so having the memory of him meeting his demise in utero was really intense for me to come to that realization. But it was interesting. So those of you who have small babies or who have access to small babies, if you ask them when they're just freshly waking up or about to fall asleep, when they're in that lucid, groggy state, and you say, where were you before you chose me to be your mommy, your daddy, or whatever, or brother or sister, whoever you are to this child? And the answers are like mind-blowing. So my daughter would always have different things, but it was like things she could have never known. And that's part of why I knew, even when she was in my womb, that she was my grandmother coming back. And I was very well aware of that because of the feel of it. And so she is. And that has been confirmed, oh my God, hundreds of times over. But my son, I would have these really wild dreams when I was pregnant with him, like being in a sea of blue light. And it wasn't water, it was more of like this gel-like, but it was fluid. And he would fall out of my uterus and I would just put him back. So I always knew, because I knew the moment of conception with this child. He was very special. And so I knew, like, this cosmic boy entered my body. I knew it was male. His father and I were not married. Literally, it was the first time we were ever intimate. And I even told him, because I wanted to see this beach down in Baja, and he agreed to take me in his truck. I said, I'm not gonna fuck you. So that's how blunt Sherry is. But my son is 20 now, but ended up marrying that man and conceiving my daughter. So definitely there was a purpose to him for us to procreate. And when my daughter was very young, that's when we divorced. Anyhow, but they're 18 and 20 now. They're grown. But we are wonderful co-parents, just not great as a couple. But definitely, I only had one menstruation cycle between my son and conceiving my daughter, because I breastfed. So very much so, like, cosmically aligned to procreate, because I had tried 4 years with my first husband and we couldn't conceive. So if you are having issues conceiving or not, that is the divine design. Please know that. Please know that. And it's interesting because I'm 50. I'm not a young woman, but I'm aging really slow. And I have had 3 men in the past say that they couldn't have a relationship with me because they wanted to procreate. And And Spirit had told me like right away, no, that none of them will. And but I had to let them go because it's not my job to relay that information. So if Spirit ever gives you something that would be painful for someone to receive, that would even come off manipulative if you're in an intimate relationship with them, just don't share it. That was more for me than for them, because the point is like, would they choose that love or their drive to procreate? You see what I'm saying? It's not important for them to know. It's more important for me to have that affirmation, because then that's obviously not something that's yoked for me. Anyhow, so I digress. What was I even on? Oh, the golden children. So see, squirrel. Hi, Adrian, how are you? Elizabeth said, I'm going to ask Catalea once she learns how to talk. Ooh, Catalea's answers are going to be like, so anyway, so I would ask my son that, and he would always say, waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's true, because so many lives before Sherry, I did not have children or procreate. I was killed far too young. But there was one, it was actually Bronze Era, and I was pregnant. And I had a daughter who I'm actually she's one of my best friends right now. She's 70 this life. She was my daughter, and I was pregnant with my now son. And he never came into the human experience, of course. And I really believe in this past life that I just saw when I was in Big Sur, that the child that was in my womb was also him. So now he's actually human. He gets to play human, but he's an Aries. So the energy of Aries, which also confirms for me that he is a new human, is new. It's like that toddler that can have outbursts, and they're just very impulsive, and they don't do a whole lot of like thinking, which is good because he's meant to be a visionary. He is so brilliant, but very new at being human. And so he will be like very explosive, but then come right back like immediately and have this beautiful open heart and talk about what had happened, so that he's processing. So it's really beautiful to witness. But he has a hard time also simulating as like my child, because he's been my guide before. So he's comes off as like this all-wise, knowing like wizard, and I'm like, look, we gonna have issues. But anyhow, this card, like I said, these 3 cards are like my family unit, my inner circle. So those friends that are closest to me, my children, if I'm in a relationship, it involves that space. And so the golden children, it talks about being tender and also honoring my rare gifts. So not excessively humbling myself by ignoring my gifts, and that the golden child that I am nurturing, which is my son, who is very new at being human, that my gifts actually help them to come into the courage of their own gifts, which is true. So, and this is interesting because literally last year was the first time ever that I was seeing and experiencing something metaphysical at the exact same time someone else was, and they saw exactly what I was, and that was my daughter. And so it was so powerful for me, because my entire life I had to just have faith and really trust, like radically appreciate and accept and trust what Spirit gave me blindly. And but also on some level, because of that, always feeling like, am I crazy? Am I making this up? Like, how come no one else is seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting what I'm experiencing? And so when that happened, when she saw that other dimensional being on my bed at the exact moment I was experiencing it, I just started crying. And she said, "You saw that, right?" And I'm there crying. "Tell me what you saw." And so she was explaining it to me. I'm like, oh my God, it was the most beautiful gift ever. And so I thank Spirit. Thank you for doing that. Well, literally 2 weeks ago, because I have nightly walks with my son. We go and we'll walk together like between 11 and midnight, because that's the only cool time in the desert, right? And I was walking, and less than 12 inches from me, because we were walking side by side, but I was a little bit ahead of him because we were walking next to construction, this being went through the fabric of our matrix, and it had an intense sound. It actually blew my hair, and he just kept talking because he was the one talking. And I said, "Daniel, did you not see that?" And he goes, "What did you see?" And I said, "Did you not see anything?" He goes, "I didn't see anything." And I said, "Did you hear something?" And he goes, "What did it sound like?" So I made that sound. Like I said, it literally sounded like almost like popping air out of a bag, you know? And I said, but it came with a breeze, like it blew my hair, but it was literally less than 12 inches from us. And it was like, just, you could tell it was a being that was about human height, and it was going through the fabric from one dimension to another. And it just like kind of glitched in front of us. And he said, "I didn't see it." He goes, "And I didn't feel it, but I heard it." So I was like, okay, thank you, universe, because these are the true miracles of our existence. Like the synchronicity of these cards this morning, that to me, those are the mini miracles that we get to experience in our human experience that really validates the divinity that's within us, outside of us. And that just tickles me and fills me with gratitude. I love that shit. So anyhow, I was like in the process of recording this to Lisa, because my beautiful soul sister Lisa and I, we record in the mornings to each other. And I do it while I'm sitting right here at my altar, and I just kind of like talk to her about the things that I'm experiencing in the morning. And I was recording that to her, and she recorded to me about being exalted in my expression. That was her words. Oh my God, it was so fucking beautiful how she said that. May you be exalted in your expression. And she was saying that like in your poems, in your dance. And literally I was shuffling my sacred geometry deck as I'm listening to her. And right after she said that, I pulled the card, and it was this. And I was mind blown at the synchronicity. I wanted to cry. I said, "Holy shit." And so I took a picture of the card and I sent it to her. I was like, these are the miracles. These are the miracles. So I love that. Dancing prayer, as you can see, the flower of life behind it. But it really is. So these are really the chakras, how they are, these spinning vortexes of energy. But our energy is an upward flow. But to embrace the fire of the Kundalini, to be passionate in the human experience, is the message of this card. And so that's what I was talking about, like writing and being passionate and saying the powerful things. They don't have to be 3-syllable words. They can be short, little tiny words like love, and have great meaning if you feel it. And so who's delivering those words to you, and do they feel what they're actually teaching to you, or are they regurgitating what they read? So No Place Like Home showed up in the reverse. And this was interesting because this talks about, this was a Sherry Smackdown. So these cards, the 4 cards that I keep on my altar, are for me. They're guidance specifically for me. The first 3 cards are my guides for the day, who I'm going to work with. The second pull, the 3, are for my inner circle. So for me and my closest relationships. And then these 4 are the altar of my inner landscape. What am I doing here so that I can deliver my human fully aligned with my path and purpose? So the dancing prayer, like dancing my passion into matter. So this takes that frequency of love that I am and delivering it so that I can be witnessed in that full alignment. So no place like home really is a smackdown. And I'm going to tell you why. So this talks about me choosing relationship on familiarity and saying that stop choosing what feels like home, because that familiar is actually not what you want. You want to be radically different right now, because the results that you've been getting are not the results that are what you deserve anymore. So it's kind of a smackdown, but it's saying, Sherry, I love you. Stop traumatizing yourself with these men that are not equally yoked with you, because you are taking them on potential, not on their present. And I do choose on energy, okay? And I do not leave my home. So like that whole meme that says that in order for you to actually find a partner, you have to date. And then it has a little girl and she's like crying. She's like, no, what? Like that totally is me. Like I don't date. I will not accept dinner invitations for a free meal. Like that is not me. I am not that person. I will never, ever put a profile on a dating website. I will not. And because, and Spirit knows, what I am is very rare, and what I am is phenomenal, and I deserve rare and phenomenal. And rare and phenomenal is not on a dating website. And I am knowing that for myself, because every single person I've ever known who's made a profile on a dating website has even been honest enough to tell me that they lied on it. So there ain't no way on God's green earth that I am making a profile for myself like that. So I will be alone until this phenomenal shows up. And so they say, are you expecting someone to come knock on your door? Why, yes, motherfucker, I am expecting that. So I'm going to share another story with you. And I love story time. And really, this is how the ancients did it, right? So I'm going to share a story, because this is the story that came up when it said I have to do something radically different. So this is a story. I was sitting on my couch one day reading a book, and this is when I just left medicine. And so I wasn't as busy as I am now with clientele, and I actually was still like on some level hiding. I wasn't really sharing a lot about who I was or what I was doing, just on a very like small scale. And I see this guy. And so to come into my front yard, my courtyard, you actually have to come all the way in by the front door to get there. And it's all like Mexican brick, it's enclosed. And I see a man like outside my living room window. And I'm like, there's a man in my courtyard. So I opened the door and I was like, can I help you? And he said, Amanda, thank you. Amanda's like, yay, story time. And Becca says, that is a beautiful smackdown. I love it. See, it's not harsh, but it is like, okay. So this is what I would love from you. Like all of you that are still sharing space with me. If you have a suggestion of something that's radically new, that would be awesome. So anyhow, I said, can I help you? And he said, I'm here to give an estimate for your trees. Now, interesting thing is, I did need my trees trimmed, but I had not called anyone. I didn't even look into like having someone come give me an estimate to look at my trees, nothing. And so I said, who sent you? And he said, your landlord. I don't have a landlord. Okay. So I was like, okay. And so he's like, yeah, I'm just going to look at the trees. And I said, you know what? And so I started talking to him because I did need my trees cut. So I said, who do you work for? And he told me. And so literally, like, my ear's ringing now again. Okay. Anyhow, so I said, I literally asked him like 4 times, who do you work for? Who sent you? Okay. And you're supposed to be here? He's like, yeah. So I said, okay, this pine tree, I really want to save it. And he's like, oh, he goes, but it looks like it's dying from the top down. And I was like, oh, it can't be saved because like my owl lives in that tree. And I promised him that I would put a nesting box. And he's like, you have an owl? And I said, well, I mean, it's not mine, but yeah, I mean, he's free, but free to like fly and wild, but I mean, I don't pet him. And he's like, oh, and I said, well, he leaves me feathers and he guards me and he's beautiful. And so, yeah, he lives in this space and that's his favorite spot. And I like the tree. It gives good shade because it's hot as fuck here. But, and he's like, well, I don't know if I can save it. Look, and he's like explaining the tree, like it looks like someone chopped the top off. And he said, and those trees, you can't trim them like that. And it'll kill the tree. So I don't know who chopped the top of the tree because that was before I moved here. But I did notice that the tree had started seeping a lot of sap. And I noticed that it started getting really sad, like losing boughs, and I was upset about it. But anyhow, so we talked about the tree, and then I just start having like vomit of the soul, like sharing all this like private stuff with this man that I didn't even know. And I still at this point had not made eye contact with him or anything. And so he's like asking all these questions about my trees and what do you do for a living and blah, blah, blah. And anyhow, at the very end, he just said, so how's my energy? And when I made eye contact with him, nearly knocked me over the energy. And so long story short, he was drawn to me so much. And then we started hearing each other in our heads. And he thinks I'm a witch. So he ran away, I think, to like Oregon or some shit. But so can a man show up at my house? Yes. The universe sent his ass, but I'm knowing for myself that the next one that shows up in my courtyard won't be scared of me. So there's that. Anyhow, I mean, that's pretty funny, right? That's a funny story. But anyway, so like it did feel familiar and I didn't go looking for him. And actually, I have never gone and looked for any of my partners. They have all found me some way or another. And I don't go to bars and I don't do things like that because that's just not my jam. So if it happens, it happens. So that card telling me that I have to do something radically different to get different results, it's kind of triggering to me. But so if anybody has suggestions, that would be awesome. And so calcite, spontaneity showed up again. And if you remember what I said the other day about spontaneity, spontaneous does not mean, hey, let's play hooky from work and go to the beach in San Diego and smoke a joint. And no, that's not spontaneous. Spontaneous is inspired, driven action. So it's being in your highest integrity and heart-centered and allowing spirit to pull you through the human experience. That's like the breadcrumbs left by synchronicity. Like my card pulls today, how I was given that poem by pulling this one, and I said the poem aloud, and then right away Gabriel showed up and told me to write. And I was like, whoa, and then this dude shows up. So I was like, okay, I promise to write a poem today. But then talking to my soul sister, and she says, dance, and then, come on, like, I'm all about that kind of synchronicity. So if y'all know how to manifest a divine partner through synchronicity, I'm all for that. I am open to new perspectives. Becca says, wasn't it last week that you said the card showed up that said you need to travel and be in nature and you will find someone special? It just told me that I needed to travel and anchor my energy. It didn't say like I would find someone in nature, because girl, I'd be in the woods. But that could be spirit talking through you. So I think that's a good suggestion, Becca. Fine, maybe I'll meet someone on a trail and hopefully not a serial killer. Oh, I must have heard this in my head. See, that's what I said. That was spirit inspiration, spirit talking through my soul sister, Becca. By the way, Becca was the big sister of Rebecca and I in Atlantis. Rebecca and I were twins, and Becca was our big sister when the floods came. So it's nice to make these connections. Elizabeth says, I was going to say something similar to Becca. Go out in nature. I feel like you'll meet someone there. And you know what's interesting about that? I did share the shape-shifting story about the hawk when I would meditate every day in the park, and the hawk manifested as this like Adonis male. And I was like, I wonder if that even really happened. Did it really happen? And then my old receptionist from when I was in the clinic, she said, I saw you in the park and I'm really disappointed in you. And I was like, wait, what did you see? And I mean, I kissed this person, but I wasn't like fucking. And so when she said, I saw you kissing this man in the park, and I was like, what did he look like? And she was like, he was hot. And I was like, oh my God, I have a witness. So yes, go in nature, but he has to like stay a man. He can't turn back into a bird. Like Salome, I feel like is not a bird. So here's calcite. This is all about inspired driven action. I know y'all are like, Sherry is on something today. I don't know what. I do feel kind of like, I swear I didn't smoke. I didn't do anything. I even ate. I only eat one meal a day, and I already had my meal. And I normally don't have it till late afternoon. And I ate already. Had an over easy egg with like literally a shit ton of cilantro. I love cilantro. And a peach. Oh my God, the juiciest peach. It was amazing. And I only bought 4, and I'm thinking these are gonna be gone quick. Okay, so the Angel Raspberry showed up. Thank you. Becca loves all them crystals too. I literally felt like I was in a crystal cave sleeping at your house, Becca. That room has so many crystals. And it's sad because I can't get the light to hit it right for you to see all the rainbows that are actually in this stone. And Amanda loves my stones too. Thank you, Amanda. So the Angel Raspberry showed up, and the Angel Raspberry, I love this. So this is another synchronicity. I got a message from this beautiful ascended teacher that I'm friends with on Facebook. And he's an older male. He's in his late 70s. And yes, rescued stones. That's how I see it too. And so he actually messaged me out of the blue this morning, and he says, I just want to let you know that Spirit is lining up to reward you, to gift you. Like Santa Claus, it has seen that you've been far more nice than you have been naughty. And those times that you've been naughty are not far from nice. This is exactly how he put it. I'm not even kidding you. And he said, Spirit is going to really reward you. I just wanted to let you know that I see you, and that's coming for you. So I was like, oh, that's a beautiful message to wake up to, because that was this morning. And so the Angel Rasbar literally has that same message that says, the great master is witnessing you and knows that you are the great servant. And you are due, what is the word that was actually used? You are due the grace that you deserve because you've been a dutiful servant. And I was like, wow, this is twice now that this is being said to me today. That's beautiful. I sure hope that this is really going to come down. So I love this part. So I write in books all the time because whatever is key to me, but it says, I knew you wanted to serve more than you wanted to fear. And it says, your purpose is bestowed. So serve, assist, do not hold back for any reason. Not one reason I could imagine is worthy of you. So then aliveness, so then service, so then joy. Help and be helped. That is the way for you now. And it says that, where is that? Oh, here it is. Divine contribution is offered to those who wish to contribute to the world. So contribution will be gifted to me. So I have to cast aside all doubts, which is one of my core wounds. And it says, so shine true, be humble, but not dismissive of your gifts. And that was what showed up in this one. So even in how I mother my golden child, I cannot be dismissive of my gifts because I'm actually teaching him how to not doubt himself by witnessing me not doubting myself. And that's important. And so it says, the great master is aware of you and is sending the holy ones to back you up. And I do feel that. I feel that support, and I feel that grace washing over me. And I do feel most times that I deserve it. Most times. So, okay, so I have suggestions from Amanda and Becca to get into nature. I'm going to do it. Should I do it naked? No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. I am so kidding. Oh my God. Though I love being naked. I'll wait till he's actually my partner to do it naked. Then I know that I am ultimately protected. So it's funny because I drove out to the middle of the desert on full moon. I was actually supposed to be in Scotland last year for my birthday, and the full moon right after my birthday was literally like 3 days after my birthday was in Scorpio. And I'm a Taurus, Scorpio rising, and it was supposed to be like one of the most powerful full moons I would be experiencing. It's in my 49th year, and so like Lisa has been talking about, every 7 years your cellular structure realigns and recalibrates, all of that. And so this was supposed to be huge for me. And so I drove out into the desert, and there's this particular place that I know there's a lot of portals. So I just parked. I stopped when I felt good, parked, put the hatch up on my Subi, set up the back hatch because I was going to sleep in the back of my car. And it was pitch black out there except for the moon. A beautiful desert spot. And I just stripped. I was completely naked. And all of a sudden I see this light coming really slow, and I was like, is this like a ATV or what? And it was a fucking train. I didn't even realize there was train tracks out there, but it was like less than 10 feet from me, and I didn't even realize it. I was like, well, guess I should cover myself. So, surprise. Anyhow, I cracked myself up. So yeah, anyhow, Amanda, yes, that is so true. it's how I feel with Adrian, him watching me to be who I deserve to be me. Yes. So that he can embrace himself. Yes. And he's at that age where he's really like, you know, when you're a preteen, you're moving past like all this self-judgment to really forge who you're going to be separate from your parents. And, but also taking cues from them. Remember, they learn how to love from the female and they learn how to feel safe from the male. And so they take things from us. But most especially, self-love comes from watching us love ourselves. And so I had to love myself harder, knowing that for my kids. And even though it may not have been the right reason to love myself, it's what got me through to the best parts of really loving myself. I needed that motivation to get me to the place where I'm at right now, where I'm like really loving myself. So, anyhow, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Because it's Saturday. Like, I got time. No? Anybody want to talk about something? Anything? Bueller? About any of this energy that's been moving through with Chiron? Yeah, I love you, Amanda. I really loved your pole dancing in the dark with the candles. That was so beautiful, seeing your shadow on the pole. It was so beautiful. No? Okay. Thank you. What a beautiful gift to share this time and space with you. And thank you for gifting me your most valuable currency, your time and your energy. I am bursting with gratitude. Thank you. And I am sorry for any disharmony that I myself have created. Please forgive me. Thank you for this opportunity. I love you. I love you. I love you.